What up, Pittsburgh Steelers fans? Matty P here to talk to you all about how the Steelers can unlock their offense by taking the Josh Allen approach. Here you go, latest episode from Steelers Touchdown Under. So the rookie quarterbacks take time to adjust to the NFL. That's not a news headline. Equally, an offensive line is very important to a rookie quarterback's development, particularly over the course of seasons 1, 2, and 3. Again, probably not a headline for everyone. Now, the Bills understood this with Josh Allen. Why am I bringing up Josh Allen? We'll see. It was funnily enough, a week before the mainstream media or the main NFL media called it out last year and some of the Steelers media, I actually did a show on BTSC talking about the similarities between Kenny Pickett and Josh Allen. It was about 3 to 4 weeks into Kenny Pickett's starting career as the Steelers quarterback. And therefore, I think the similarities are really important. But equally, before that offseason, there'd been a review by Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks on one of their Move the Sticks podcasts where they talked about how the center position was something that had really been focused in on from the Bills to improve Josh Allen and help him get more accurate, have better pocket presence. They moved on from an older player in Russell Bodine, who was about 32, I think, in his last season with the Bills before he was moved on. And then they brought in Mitch Morse, who was becoming quite a top quality center. Now, the difference with the Steelers is that center has been a problem since Pouncey's retirement. And Kenny Pickett has really experienced that, particularly with Mason Cole they brought in last year, which they knew they needed to bring in a center because Kendrick Green hadn't worked out. Now, the center position is vital. They're the ones that often, will be able to call changes in the defense on the line, will be able to really, if they don't, hut the ball properly, that's going to be a big problem. We saw that when it went over Big Ben's head. So obviously the center's a really key piece of the offensive line. And I wasn't on the Mason Cole train. I'll be straight up on that most of the season last year. Then toward the end of the season, I came around to it. And I was really hopeful about how he could develop with Pickett this year. By all accounts, the repertoire between them, the vibe between them, the chemistry was really strong. Looked like he's been a vocal guy. Everyone goes to him in the locker room for the post-game press conferences and all the rest of it. But what we've seen on the field this year has been really poor. And so, given that the Steelers knew a center was important, and given that was so key for Josh Allen's development, you can say the same J.C. Treader with Baker Mayfield at times. You can talk about bringing in Corey Linsley for the Chargers and how that's helped Herbert. Obviously, Creed Humphrey with Patrick Mahomes. The Creed Humphrey was someone that a lot of Steelers fans wanted instead of that year with Pat Freiermuth. Pat Freiermuth went before Creed Humphrey. Center is obviously really, really key. So how does it look for the Steelers? Now, in 2023, if you rank all the centers on their pass blocking grades, you have to go all the way down to get number 47 is Mason Cole, with a pass blocking grade so far this season of 26. 26 out of all the centers. Now, unfairly, if you've played one game and you played really well, you're going to be higher on this list. So we can simply go 50% of the 291, which is the most pass blocking snaps played. Let's just do 50%, right? So that's most starters, really. Mason Cole is 29th in the league. 29th. No wonder Pittsburgh is struggling. Kenny Pickett is struggling on the offense. Really, you look at 80%, I think he still pops up in here. No, he's outside of that because of the way it plays. But when you go, let's go back to the 50%. The 50% number, when you see that, you see top guys like Creed Humphrey and Tyler Linderbaum from Baltimore. Obviously, Baltimore in 4-2. Frank Ragnow from the 5-1 Detroit Lions. Josh Myers over there at Green Bay. You've got Ryan Kelly from Indy. Now, Indy don't have a positive record, but Kelly's played pretty well. Kelsey, obviously, there with the Eagles. Mitch Morse with Buffalo. Pretty incredible. You go to 2022. Now, 2022 is interesting because Mason Cole had a much better year in 2022. So the regression is not just something that you're seeing on tape. You actually see it there as well in how the passing grades look on PFF. Now, a lot of people go, Matt, PFF, we don't like those grades. It's less about what grade they got. It's how they're ranked because everyone's on the same scale. Now, Mitch Morse, who's sort of our control, if you want to think of scientific experiment, is 16th in the league in 2022. It wasn't the best year for the Bills anyway, but he had a 70.1, right? That was his grade. You got to go down to number 33. So Mason Cole, who played 100% of the snaps for the Steelers in terms of pass blocking, 63.8, the 33rd player in the league. Now, I ranked this on 50. They had to play, this is minimum. If you go 50% of the topmost snaps on the league, so 893 was the most pass blocking snaps. You go down, Mason Cole was 20th in the league. So tied with Garrett Bradbury of Minnesota. Now, that's not too bad. And we saw that down the stretch with the Steelers. But early on this season, he looks a lot worse. Now, I will just say Mitch Morse was top 10 last year in terms of if you actually played the full amount of snaps. Again, Creed Humphrey up there, Kelsey up there, Corey Linsley up there. Top guys. All those teams did well. LA went lost in the divisional round against the Jags. So that's, and you look at all the teams, San Francisco, the only real outliers here are really, Green Bay and Tampa Bay last year. But Mitch Morse, top 10. They brought in a center, could be top 10. Now, moving back to 2023, and you look at the run blocking. Now, run blocking, you do have to give some credit here to Mason Cole. Run blocking, he is doing a bit better. But run blocking doesn't necessarily help Kenny Pickett. A good running game can make Kenny Pickett better, 100%. Not going to dispute that. But again, Mason Cole, 25th in the league. So I don't need to sit here and go through deep PFF stats for you, but it is really clear that taking the Josh Allen approach, or you can call it the Justin Herbert approach, or you can call it the Pat Mahomes approach, whatever approach you want to call it, but bringing in a center that actually can help the quarterback improve, an experienced center, is really, really key. Now, again, in fairness to Mason Cole, it's not like he was brought in as the top center in the league. He's also quite a young center in the league. But for me, in the way things are going with the Steelers this year, I actually think, and people are going to say it's silly to say this far out, especially considering how decently he did last year, and he is on, I think he's got a 3-year contract. They need to draft a center highly next year in the draft. Center and cornerback. C needs to be the letter, the letter of the month, the flavor of the month, the letter of the day in day 1 and day 2 of the draft next year. And/or they may need to consider doing something at the trade deadline. Unless they think Spencer Anderson is a solution, unless Samalu can be a solution as well, I do not want to see the Steelers lose another season of Pickett's development, waste a season of this defense simply because they haven't got the bloke under center to make it happen. But I'd love to know what your thoughts are on Mason Cole in the comments. I do think he's the key to unlocking this offense. I do think the center position is key to unlocking the offense if he's not the guy. And as always, go Steelers.